friends. So we've got here chapter 10 LTC, and I'm going to be doing this a little differently in terms of the commentary for this chapter because, well, one, there was a lot of stuff that I did in Somnial that I ought to explain, and then the strategy for this map's also very, I wouldn't call it obtuse, but it's just like, it's very deliberate and specific, so I figure I can take some more time to explain it instead of, because this is going to be a two-turn clear, so not going to be a lot of time to talk about what is even going on the screen. So let's start off with what I've been up to in Somnial. So let's go here. So first I'll call out all of the bond ring level ups that I've done. So here I have Alir with Micaiah bond level 10. I will need that for the Nosferatu, as well as the +1 on magic stat that you get along the way from the emblem ring itself. That will be useful. Diamant is bond level 6 with Marth, that's when you get 2 strength in the ring. Amber is Roy bond level 2. I'm not sure if I don't think I actually needed this bond level 2, but it's there. I think it was for like an earlier version of my strat that I thought I needed it, but did not end up needing it. Let's see, Jade's just wearing Leaf but not really doing anything with it. Vander already had Sigurd at bond level 6 here, so and same with Yunaka and Celica. Let's see, I think that's all of the bond ring. Actually, well, I can point out that so Amber actually promoted to cavalry, or sorry, not cavalry, paladin, and not only that, but it's an axe paladin, and he did start off as a lance cav, so I did need to raise him to level 2 leaf to get axe proficiency, and then promoted him to axe paladin. And the reason for that, the reason for the promotion in the first place is not only he got 2 strength, I believe. Yeah, he had 15 before, so he got 2 strength, but also importantly he gets 1 more movement, and I do need that 1 movement. So yeah, pointing that out. And as for other promotions, actually I reclassed Vander with a 2nd seal, and I put him into Wyvern Knight, and I will be pointing out why I need to do that later, on top of the fact that he gets +1 strength, which is nice. Let's see, and then we can talk about weapons. Alright, so Diamant, I forged him a Killing Edge, and I did +1 on it, and I have engraved it with Sigurd engraving. So he needs to be critting in this run, and then he also needs that little bit of extra might to get going. Well, Amber's not holding anything right now, you'll see later. Citrine, I have forged a Thunder +1, and then engraved it with Roy, just for, she's like, okay, so you can see on the right side here I have Dire Thunder, so I also rigged for an Olwen ring, which will allow her to guarantee double with Thunder. And Dire Thunder is the best way to utilize Roy engraving, because Roy engrave puts like a ton of weight on whatever you engrave. So normally you're not supposed to double, but if you put it on a brave weapon, or in this case Thunder, for the sake of Dire Thunder, then it's very good. Let's see, Jade's got nothing special here. Okay, Vander, Killer Axe +3. He will need all 3 of these pluses here. All of that might will be necessary. And then it also has Marth engrave for some more hit and some more crit. Let's see, Yunaka, nothing. Yeah, I think that was it for the forge and engravings. And the very last thing to point out is that in the previous chapters I had been pumping a ton of SP in like EXP and SP in that, in the same vein, into Alir, and that is because I want Cantor for this chapter. I specifically need Cantor. And I also specifically don't want to promote. At least I want to stay in the a dragon class. That will be important for my warp range, because when you're using Micaiah augment, yeah, you get additional staff range +1 as dragon, and I do want to keep that. So it's not a big deal that I am level 9 right now, even though I will want to promote for the next chapter. Let's see, what else is there to talk about? I think that should be it for the unit loadout, like the inventories and such. So let's talk about the map. So this map's kind of tricky. The objective is to kill Hyacinth here and then also kill Morian. But the issue is that there's 2 bosses and they both have 2 health bars. So it's actually quite a challenge to do that. And I'll pretty much just explain why I need Vander to be a flyer in order before I just get into the run. So the reason Vander needs to be a flyer is okay, so if I warp like from this spot, Lear can reach right here, right past the door. And that means I can bring 1, 2, 3, like from left, right, and above. I can bring 3 people past the door. And if I have someone below me, so say like Diamant is right here, if I have one person below me, they will be put right here. And that's an issue because that means I'm like bringing 3 people. This person behind the door really can't get past the door unless they have Warp Ragnarok. And the only place I can really Warp Ragnarok is like into here, and you will just get obliterated. So that's like, and then like if I just say I put Yunaka here and then I put her here, she like dodge tanks for the whole turn, like that's doable. And then she comes over here and Warp Ragnarok's the next turn. Well, that Warp Ragnarok's not going to do enough damage to kill a health bar. And then at the end of the day, I only have 3 other people to take out, 4 health bars. So that math, just doesn't add up. So how about if I like warp from here, then I can like warp onto these stairs like up here, and then I can have like 1, 2, 3, 4 people rewarped with me, right? Well, that doesn't work because obviously Alir's starting position is non-negotiable, and that means I cannot have someone on this tile before I rewarp, right? But what I can do, well, I guess the point I'm about to bring up would apply if I warped from here anyways. But what I will do is I will warp from this tile right here. I can load up people like left, right, bottom, and I can also load up someone on the top side, but they will need to be a flyer. So you can see kind of where this is going. I do want Vander to be on this tile that only flyers can reach, so that I can bring 1, 2, 3, 4 people. I can warp right here, and what happens to the person that's supposed to be warped into this wall? They actually get put up here. So that's perfect. I can do 1, 2, 3, 4 people warped directly into the room, and then I can even bring a Warp Ragnarok right here by attacking this archer. So in the end, I will have 5 people pass the door, and then from there, the math does work out to killing both of these bosses on turn 2. I think that should be it to talk. I guess I could say like I'm not using Chloe. Like Chloe could be warped here, like she's just innately a flyer, but her might is just her strength is just too low right now. She has like 8 strength. Vander has 12 in Wyvern Knight, so that is why I am using Vander. In addition to the fact that he has access to axes, which further, increases that discrepancy. But yeah, I'm gonna make a cut here, and then we will continue with the run. Alrighty, so we're getting into the actual run now. So the people, I can't bring everyone with warp, right? So there's going to be some people staying behind in this initial room, and that's going to be Jade, Louis, Chloe, and Celine. So as you see there, Chloe naps that Draco Shield on the first turn. She has the freedom to do so, which is great. And then we're going to bully Goldmary of her energy drop on the next turn. So that's nice that we can kind of pick up those two booster items. So I set up the 4-person warp that I mentioned during the pre-battle screen. And then I've equipped Alir with Nosferatu. And so what that's going to do is that will bait that monk that's in front of Morian to try to break me. It does like 3 damage and it can break me. And it only has like a 57% hit rate, so I want that to miss. But basically I need to aggro it so that it doesn't chain guard Morian, because that's like a huge obstacle to killing him. So here you saw that the monk tried to attack me, and then Morian tries to hit me. And this is where Nosferatu itself, as well as my magic stat, comes into play. That 2 chip damage lets me get away with 1 less might on Diamant when I go to finish off Morian. So on this enemy phase, one other thing that I didn't mention before was that I inherited Headlong Rush from Sigurd onto Yunaka. That's the ability that prevents you from getting frozen. And Hortensia always tries to freeze Yunaka here. I'm not sure why, if it's like she's just the closest person, but basically what happens with Headlong Rush is she can still target you, but just nothing will happen. So here, Diamant does 9 damage with his attack, and then he does exactly 40 with 1 crit on one of his like normal hits. So that's where that 2 chip damage from Alir comes into play, which is absolutely gorgeous, because I don't want to spend more foraging materials on a killer sword there. And then here Citrine gets the Alir personal as well as a chain attack, and it just does a huge amount of damage. And I want to do that before I warp out Vander and Amber all the way up here. And then I'm kind of like counting the tiles just to make sure that I'm warping to the right space, because that'd be embarrassing if I did warp to the wrong space. If you saw earlier, I also, like on the turn 1 rewarp, I canto. The only reason I could bait that monk was because I had Canter. So that was the significance of Canter. So here, Vander with momentum has just enough power. Like with momentum as well as Killer Axe +3, he does 17 damage, and 17 times 3, 51. So he has like just enough strength or might to one-shot with a crit here. But of course, unfortunately, it will not come easy. I'm going to have to do a little bit of fishing. So here I'm just using Louis to advance some RN. And then we'll try again. So that's one of the... So I want to point out that this is like the reason why I needed Amber to be promoted into Paladin for that +1 movement, is so that I could warp basically where I did, and then like by being able to be like 1 tile further back, Vander gets 1 more momentum like damage. So that's the significance there. And then here Jay just one-shots with Leaf's quadruple attack, which is great, because I don't know, against bosses usually I feel like that engage attack It's kind of bad, but it was great here. And then, yeah, Vander's having a lot of trouble critting, even though he has like 40% crit rate, and the hit rate isn't too shabby itself either, so don't know what's up with that, dude. And you'll notice I did point it out earlier, but I did have that second Olwen ring. Actually, I'm not sure if I did mention it, but I did rig for a second Olwen ring. It's not for this chapter specifically, but I figured I'd use it anyways. But just know that even though I have two, it's not actually necessary at this present moment. And then here, normally I would rather have Chloe take that chest with Elfire. Not because it's like I really need the Elfire, but it could come in handy, and it's also more gold if it doesn't come in handy, but I need to fish some more RN here. So I'll just kill that mage. And then we go again. And still no luck, and I'm reaching my literal last opportunity to fish for a crit, which is having Yunaka finish off Morian. She does so very cleanly. I could have like a chain attack miss and she would still clean up. So that part is quite reliable. This part, not so reliable. But since you're watching this video right now, that must have mean that I succeeded. So bam, there's a crit. And then what I do here is I use Canter to go down one, and even though Amber didn't have a weapon before, now he can swoop in, trade, take the same Killer Axe, which has, you know, Marth engraving and +3 forge, and use it for himself. So kapow, Hyacinth's taken down, and that's the clean, well, not clean, somewhat messy 2-turn of chapter 10.